We are live. Welcome to the program, Everyday Ethics. I'm your host, Michael Liebowitz. With us, as always, is the wonderful Persephone, ready to challenge me with all of her questions. And I think she's ready to challenge you with some questions as well, dear audience. And let us not forget that we are always thrilled to get super chats, super stickers. Danny has ordered the cat headphones. They will be arriving on Monday. Go ahead, Persephone.
So when I was thinking about what questions I was going to ask, I started thinking about Inception. I started thinking about why finding questions is so difficult because it is fairly challenging to think up questions that are detailed enough but also don't have super obvious answers. And the the conclusion that I came to is that these principles are very easy, or not easy, they're very simple in theory, but in practice, they're maybe not that easy to apply.
Okay.
And the reasons that they're not easy to apply are because you're going against often decades of conditioning from the environment. It relies on accurate self assessment, which a lot of people do struggle with. Yesterday, you said that when you are rationalizing to yourself, you notice immediately, but a lot of people don't notice when they are rationalizing, not immediately in the moment. And that was just something that I was thinking about. Do you do you agree that the principles are simple in theory and maybe more challenging to apply in real life?
Yes, of
Talk
course.
talk while I set up this poll.
Uh, yes, of course. It's much easier when you don't actually have to go through the emotional turmoil or the complexities of everyday life to put something out there. I think my dog just made me sneeze. But so yes, but with practice, it becomes easier and easier. You just have to keep at it. It's not going to happen the first time around. Now it's become for me. I will question myself automatically. I can assess myself in real time if I'm being unreasonable. Am I being unfair? It wasn't always like that. It just has taken a lot of time and a lot of effort. But again, anything in life worth having is going to require effort.
How did you
Oh, you froze up. Unfreeze yourself, woman. Persephone froze. You
Yeah, we've got
froze.
I'm sorry. I don't know if anybody can see how windy it is, and my internet might be a little bit unstable.
All right.
Um did you hear my question?
No.
Okay. My question was, how did you teach yourself to catch the rationalizations happening?
Well, so I mean, this is not. We could do like three shows on that on this one thing, but ultimately, reading, more reading, incorporating what I'm reading. I mean, I've read a lot of books that will give you questionnaires about yourself, self-analysis stuff. Nathaniel Brandon's sentence stems. In checking myself against the thinking errors that Dr. Samenow and Yokels, the Sin put out, the criminal thinking errors, checking myself against cognitive distortions that are put out in cognitive behavioral therapy, journaling. I mean, it didn't just happen overnight. It's the result of a constant desire to understand myself, understand what I do, and yes, this is an open panel. Uh, Bear and OIs. So yeah, it takes just a lot of time and effort. I would recommend a lot of reading. And when you come across these exercises in books, do the exercises. I mean, if they're just dumb, if the book just is obviously dumb, then I wouldn't recommend it. But like Nathaniel Branden's book, How to Raise Your Self Esteem, has an abundance of exercises in it. And any good cognitive behavioral therapy book, they have exercises. Do them. And I would recommend doing, when it's self analysis, checking your strengths, your weaknesses, your idiosyncrasies. Have somebody with you, that knows you, that can help out, that you can check your answers with, so just know that you're not deceiving yourself.
Do you have, besides the ones that you just mentioned, do you have like any immediate book recommendations?
Oh God.
If
It's a
you don't want
it,
to,
it,
if you
well,
don't want to do,
it depends, Persephone, on what you're dealing with. What your issue is. I would recommend, like I have over and over, Nathaniel Branden, How to Raise Psychology of Self-Esteem, How to Raise Your Self-Esteem. I would also recommend Albert Ellis's book, not Growth Through Reason. The A Guide to Rational Living is good. Aaron Beck's book, Prisoners of Hate, very good book. Feeling Good, The New Mood Therapy by David Burns. Very good book, very helpful. Also by David Burns, When Panic Attacks. Or White Bears and Other Unwanted Thoughts. Very good book.
okay. So now I'm going to get into some of the questions that I had, that I sat and thought about today. So say a parent is paying rent for their child who's in college in another state, right?
Okay.
And they're sending money to their child every month to pay for rent because they want their child to get an education. And then they find out that their child is blowing the rent money on irresponsible things. Is it reasonable for the parents then to stop sending money to those people? And should they feel guilty about not continuing to fund irresponsible behavior?
Not only can they should stop paying for it. And no, there should be no guilt. The thing is, right, if you are trying to help somebody, let's say that you come to me and you say, Mike, I want you to help me with self-improvement. I want you to help me with personal growth. And I tell you, okay, I will put in all the effort I need to, but you have to put in the effort too. So I tell you, okay, here's the list of books to read. And you say, okay, I'll read those books. And then you come to me, the first time we're ready to meet and discuss it. You say, well, I didn't actually read the book, but I did. Right? So now you say, okay, next week, just give me the chance. I'll do it this time. The next week you have another excuse. I'm not going to keep doing it. Now, I deliberately used an example that's not pecuniary because I want to illustrate the point that it's time, effort, and intelligence that you're helping somebody with when you give them money, because that's what you use to get that money. Right? So if I'm putting forth my time, effort, and intelligence towards something, but you're not willing to put forth your time, effort, and intelligence, I'm wasting my time. And I'm not going to continue to do so. So in the case of a kid, if I have a child and I say, well, you're just starting out in the world, you can use my help. This is what I'll do. I'll pay your rent for, say, the first 6 months. Let's say that's the agreement. Month 3, you're like, oh, I took the money that you gave me and I bought myself the latest sneakers and I bought myself a trip to the new movie or whatever. Well, that's not what the money was for. So now I'm not going to give you more money. That would be rewarding bad behavior for one. It would be costing me for another. And, ultimately we train people how to treat us. So when I got out of prison, Subby told me, he moved me into his home here. And he told me, okay, this is what I want you to do. He said, I don't want you to get a job. I want you to focus on building your podcast. I said, okay, I can do that. Now, suppose instead of building my podcast, I was sleeping all day, or I was having friends pick me up and going to a strip club. Is Subby to keep helping me out by allowing me to live here? rent free at the time? And no, of course not. It'd be ridiculous. So now, ultimately, a couple of years went by. I said, okay, it's time to get a job. So I did get a job, and I pay rent, but it's a very reasonable rent. Now, suppose week in and week out, I say, Sub, suppose one week I come and I say to him, Sub, I couldn't, I didn't work hard enough this week. There wasn't enough work for me, and I didn't make enough money to pay the rent. Is it okay if I go a week? And Subby says, okay. But then instead of saving my money, I go out and I buy the latest sweatshirt, whatever, new sweatshirt. And then the following week comes and I say, Sub, man, I don't have the money again because of, this, that, or the other thing. Does Subby have to keep giving me a reasonable rent? Of course not. Because Subby has to pay a mortgage. Subby has to pay bills. He's putting forth his time, effort, and intelligence in order to do that. And I'm basically at that point just spitting in his face. I'm telling him, your time and effort are more valuable than mine. Mine are more valuable than yours, so I'm going to go and dick around. Now he's rewarding bad behavior, and he should absolutely cut me off. We have 10 pounds from Phil. He says, in the promotion of objectivism, I see much of it as simplistic marketing exercise. Could financial resources for advertising partly come from crowdfunding? Any thoughts, Persephone? That's not. I appreciate the. I guess answer it because he did give the super chat, Persephone, but I will say that this isn't really the show for that question. But go ahead and answer it.
I am also not entirely sure what the question is. Much of it as a simplistic marketing exercise. What do you mean? Could financial resources for advertising come from crowdfunding? What again? Can you give me more specifics on that? Also, you can just DM me maybe on Twitter, and I can answer that question for you. I'm not.
That would be a better. Just give him in the chat, Persephone, your Twitter handle if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Yes.
And then he can get in touch with you that way.
If I can remember what my Twitter handle is.
Who prays for Satan? Something.
It is Who Prays for Satan, but it's with a 4. Thank you, Jeanette. I really appreciate that you noticed. Thank you. Anyway, so James Valiant said something very interesting.
He always does.
He really always does. James is amazing. He said the guilt should come from enabling irresponsibility. Indiscriminate charity is immoral. And
yes.
I agree with that. I think that if you continue to support someone's bad behavior, you are harming them and you are harming yourself.
Absolutely.
So then I have one more follow-up question before we get to Mr. Deagle's question, and that is, why do you think that even for people who know better and who understand these principles and who understand these things, why do you think that the guilt still slips in? Because I know it still happens to me that if someone asks me for money and they're going through a hard time, and this has happened to me recently, and I had given them money before, and it just kept happening, and eventually I was like, I can't continue to do this. If you are not going to help yourself, I cannot continue to help you. I'm happy to help you if you are genuinely struggling, but you've now proven to me that you're just going to continue to beg, and I don't feel right continuing to enable that.
Right.
And I felt genuinely guilty, even though I knew better.
So I'll give you an example. Brent one time they came and gave him extra batteries in his commissary bag. So he didn't keep the batteries. He saw them and he returned them. He says, "No, this is not my stuff." The staff member looked at him like he was crazy. Like, why are you not taking free batteries? And Brent, if I'm remembering this story right, but even if I'm not, it doesn't matter. He felt like guilt for being stupid and not keeping the batteries, right? Because his old value system is still there. There's lag. When you have inundated your consciousness or had others inundate it for years, decades, with certain values and you've adopted them, it doesn't just go away because you've learned that they're wrong. It's still there. It takes time for that to dissipate, for it to go away. That kind of ties to the conversation that we had yesterday. When you have a conflict, when your emotions want one thing, but your mind knows you should do something else, is because your emotions are still responding to your prior values, to your subconscious values, things you've already adopted. And that just takes time to change. Again, reading, like cognitive behavioral therapy, they talk about core beliefs. And you've got to get rid of those core beliefs. That takes time, it takes effort.
But I mean, that's also why it's so important to sort of identify what your values are and what your beliefs are, because otherwise these things happen and
Right.
you don't even know why.
Yes.
Okay. So Mr. Deagle had a question. Do you think close male and female friendships without romantic or sexual feelings are possible? Yes.
Uh, I don't know what you mean by it. I'm gonna say yes, it is possible. I'm also gonna say it's very, very hard. Long term, you know, I've never had a friend that was a female that didn't end up uh, complicated, to say the least. Right? Um, it doesn't mean it's not possible, and I think that it also depends on proximity, and whether we're coupling. Like if I have a girlfriend and she has a friend and we're double dating, that's a different story than if I just have a one-on-one friendship with somebody, with a woman, and I'm hanging out with her on the regular, and we're sharing intimate details of each other's lives. I think it's a very difficult thing. He
That's
asked me
interesting.
why I'm like this. I don't know why I'm like what. I don't know, but
That's just a thing that that's a thing that the young people say. Why are you like this? Um, I I don't know. I think it's possible for people to be friends without there being any romantic
I think
feelings.
so. I just think it's complicated and
I,
difficult.
Unlikely, but also Mr. Deagle, I'm curious why you asked that. And to the people who have voted in the poll and have said that the reason they haven't like asked any questions is other, would you like to share in the chat what those reasons are? If you want to, that would be great. If not, then don't worry about it.
He
Um,
says, Mr. Deagle says, I'm interested in what?
so just knowledge, just gaining the knowledge.
Oh, I guess that's good. I mean, it's interesting. It's good to get knowledge. Then you know how to. It's always a woman. It's always women who think they are possible, and women who don't, or men who don't. Let me. Okay. Normally, women. Normally, when men are being nice to you, they want to have sex with you. I mean, that's just the truth. Have you ever seen? There's an episode of Friends where Rachel is telling Ross that she has this guy just wants to be friends with her, and Joey says, and Ross says to Joey, "Hey Joe, is it possible for men to be friends with women?" He says, "No, they want to have sex." So yeah, yes, I am, and you also are 30 years younger than me and live in another country. And I'm not saying that it's not possible to be nice and not possible to be friendly. I'm saying normally, if there's some guy that wants to hang around with you, buy you things, be nice to you, the person is trying to have sex with you. Normally,
Do
not always,
do
but normally.
do you think that it makes a difference if the guy is in a committed relationship?
Yes. So when for instance, when I was with Melissa before Melissa died, Diana and I were friends. I never would have cheated on Melissa ever under any circumstances. I still was a flirt. I'm flirtatious. That's who I am. Melissa knew that and understood that was part of me, but she also knew she could trust me. In Diana, it's the same thing. Diana knows that I'm a flirt. She knows that that's all it is, and she can trust me. So when I'm in a committed relationship, sure, that makes a big difference because I'm going to check myself. Right, I'm going to stop myself once if I feel something is getting out of hand. I will pull back. This actually happened while I was with Melissa. I was with a very old friend of mine, a female friend, and when we said goodnight, there was a hug that went on a little too long for my comfort, and I told that female friend we can no longer hang out together because I knew, okay, this is going too far. It didn't go too. It did. I shouldn't say it didn't go too far, but I could very easily see it happening. So I stopped it. So yes, to answer your question, if you're in a committed relationship, then yes, it makes it much easier to do,
Yeah.
especially if everybody's respectful in that, because then the female friend or the male friend understands you're with somebody else. You know what I mean? So it does make it easier.
Mr. Deagle, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I don't think a lot of people know about it. I think maybe in the circles that you run in, but I don't think it's as widely known as you think it is. Um, Also, Phil, please DM me on Twitter because I'm very curious about this whole situation. Um, I also think, and maybe this is just sort of, I know this is just anecdotal, right? But we're talking about can men and women be friends? Mr. Deagle said it's usually women who think that they can and men who think that they can't. But something that I've noticed is that for when there's this sort of like the relationship starts to become less platonic, it's usually because the women get more attached emotionally and
Yes.
men just want to bang.
Yes.
Anecdotal, but
I had a situation come up. Do I share this? I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm an overshare. Either way, I at one point was looking for specifically a sexual relationship. I never after Melissa died, I never wanted to have a serious relationship again. I simply was not planning on it. I did not want that. I did not want to set myself up to be hurt in that way again. Obviously, I ended up with Diana, and I'm happy with her, and I'm okay. But at this point, I wasn't. So I ended up finding this woman who said that she was up for that. She's up for just a friend relationship that was we could be friends, but it was just gonna be a sexual relationship, and because I want to have sex. I mean, so she said that we could do that. So an interesting thing occurred. I told her from the get go, I'm not interested in a relationship. I will not be interested in a relationship. So we had sex, and the next day I said to myself, yeah, at this age, that's just not my thing. I can't do that. I can't just have random sex. I'd been in prison so long, I mistakenly assumed that I would be able to do what I did when I was a teenager. But my value system has so changed and altered that I just could not do it. It was not for me. So my plan was to call the woman and tell her, listen, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. Instead, she called me and said, I'm sorry, I can't do this. The interesting twist, she said, I want to have a serious relationship with you. So while I said in my response to not being able to have this sexual relationship is to just cut it off, her answer is we should have a
let's
serious
date.
relationship. Yes. Um, Very anecdotal, obviously, but
Yeah,
nonetheless, it is indicative by and large of my experience in life.
yeah. I mean, mine too. It's strange. So Lee's comment, we're gonna talk about this. My friend is having an affair and she told me about it and I feel weird now. Do you think Lee should tell the friend's partner that that person is having an affair?
Um, I need to know way more information before I could ever advise on that. And I don't, I don't know. I don't know the nature of Lee's relationship with this person. I don't know the nature of the person's relationship with their significant other. Uh, I don't know.
How much does context matter in that situation? So I mean,
A ton.
if we're assuming that it's like a relatively close friend and that
Okay, let's
that
put
the
it this
person's
way.
partner isn't abusive.
Okay, let me put it this way. Let's say you are having an affair, Persephone, right? I want to use you because I don't know your husband at all. Now, suppose you confide in me that you're having an affair and you want to talk to me about it. You're like, can you help me? I'm having an affair. I feel guilty about it, but my husband, there's a lot of issues there where, he's neglecting me. He's not spending time with me. That's why I'm doing it. And I don't think it's justifiable, but nonetheless, you are confiding in me as your friend to help you in this situation, right? So in that situation, I'm not going to go tell your husband, whom I don't know, I'm not going to elevate him above you. I'm going to try to help you. Especially, if there's a lot of other areas in your life where you're doing very well, you're demonstrating that you want to be a good person, you're trying to grow, and this is just one area where you're still, you're just not able to do it for whatever reason. I'm going to stick to helping you. Now, imagine a different scenario arises. Imagine I'm a friend of your husband, and your husband introduces me to you, and the three of us all become very good friends. So that your husband trusts that if I give you a ride somewhere, I'm not going to be trying anything with you. Nothing, untoward is going to happen. Your husband trusts me that much. And then I find out, not because you've told me, but because I'm with you, I give you a ride somewhere, and this guy that you're having the affair with comes up. And you say, "Oh, can you not say anything?" Now I'm very uncomfortable with this because you are asking me to betray my friend. Do you see the difference in the two scenarios?
I
Big
do.
difference. And there's a multitude of scenarios that we could do, that we could come up with, where my answer might be different.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it makes sense to sort of value a friendship over a person you don't really know. And Lee says that she doesn't know the guy. Also, Sabi asked if my husband and I were friends before we started dating. You know what's really funny about my husband and I? When we met on a Tinder type thing, and it was very clear to me that all he wanted was like a one night stand kind of thing. And I was like, it's not going to happen. And he was like, no, it's fine. We'll go out anyway. And I was like, but I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. He was like, no, that's not what I want. And I was like, I know you.
Yeah, let me tell you, guys, you could tell them that all you want. In his head, he's like, I'll convince her.
that's that's exactly what he thought. So we went out and we had a really good time and it was amazing. We did not sleep together. And then eventually like we just started spending more and more time together and then eventually we were like, "Ah, I guess we're dating now." Um but it in his mind it started off as like what he wanted to be a one night stand and I was like, there's no way.
Oh,
It
and now
was
you're been together for how long?
uh 11 years this year actually.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's
So
excellent.
we're almost out of time.
Yes. Do you have another question?
I have loads.
Okay.
I
Well,
spent a lot of I
ask one more. I'll answer it, and then I got to get ready because Danny's picking me up.
Okay, I need to find a good one.
All right.
Okay, so I actually asked Claude for help in like
That's cool.
phrasing some of these questions, right? And breaking it down into the different ways that applying these principles would be difficult, right? So the this category is context and hierarchy. So the question is if a scientist is offered a prestigious research position requiring 70 hours of work at a critical career stage, they also have a young child and a spouse. The research, he values both the career opportunity and the family time. Like he's worried about losing time with his family. The research window is limited, so this is a limited option. But watching his child grow up is also not something that you can like. That's something that only happens once. So how would a person in that very specific scenario, but also that's a scenario that applies to a lot of people, career or spouse, how would they go about deciding in that situation? And that's a really tough question.
It is, but this is the type of question that's very personal, right?
Hmm.
And it depends on a person's, if the person doesn't dedicate themselves to their career, now are they going to lose it forever? Uh, what I would actually say though, if you I would prefer, it's like, somebody once asked Napoleon how to get out of a very bad military situation. They told him, "You're the best general ever. How would you get out of this situation?" And he said, "I'm the best general because I would not get in that situation." And, once you're at the point where you have a child and you in a family and now you want this career and you've got to sort of figure out which one deserves your effort, it's far more complicated. Now I understand that life is life and things happen, but if for the people that are listening that are young, maybe this is why you plan your future, right? You don't have children on a whim. You wait until that is what you want, so that you can build your time around it. You don't wait until your kid's 14 and you have to decide if you're going to go into a medical practice. I don't remember how old you said the kid was, but the point is it's much more difficult then, and then you have to really start weighing your options. How much time is it going to take to dedicate to your career? How much is your child going to suffer? Is your relationship with your wife going to suffer? How much? How supportive is your wife in this scenario? How is your decision going to affect her and what she's going to have to do now to take care of the family? So there's going to be a lot of questions, and you and your family ultimately have to decide that. But you do need to ask legitimate questions about time investment, effects on the family, effects on your wife, effects on you. Are you going to resent your wife and child if you decide not to take this job? If you don't pursue this career, how much how much resentment, and how is that going to affect the family dynamic? All of these questions need to be asked, and it's much better to ask them before you're in the situation than when you're at that point.
Yeah. I mean, but also this is something that more people face than you'd think,
Sure.
because there's also a lot of people, they think that having kids is, the goal of life.
Yeah.
If you don't have kids, you're not complete. But then they struggle between like their career and their family, and they do end up resentful
Right.
of either their career or of their children. And you don't want that. You don't want to have kids and then be resentful of them that they kept you from your dream of being a surgeon or being a researcher or being an opera singer. Too many
Exactly.
people have kids too early. I agree.
Yes. Excellent points on both counts. I'll give you one more. You can ask one more. Do you have one? I want one of yours, though. I don't want a Claude. I want a Persephone. This dog is getting very antsy with me.
Oh no, now I've got to sit and think. I also have to go through my very large Google document. No, I refuse to answer. Mr. Deagle, what was your question?
Yeah, I don't even remember what it was.
I watched Judgment at Nuremberg and I felt sorry for, even though I knew he is the guiltiest person. Is it rational to feel sorry for him, or is it a leftover of altruism?
Um, that's a very good question. The problem I have with answering this question right now, Mr. Deagle, is that the vast majority of the audience won't know what I'm talking about. Mr. Air Yannig was somebody who should have known better. and he made the choices that he made. I think to feel sorry for the situation would be better because of what a shame it was that such a bright mind, such a person that obviously had potential, had basically sold out. I think that is something to mourn. I think you can also feel empathy for the fact that, look, he recognizes he's wrong and he's got to suffer now, but that doesn't mean he shouldn't. That's my answer. There might be some leftover altruism there, but I certainly, and it's also the way that the story is told because it's a movie, and that's going to, cause they want you to feel a certain way. And the movie was full of sort of what you might consider moral dilemmas and difficult things, and it's a very, very good movie. Everybody should watch it. That's all, But it depends how sorry you're feeling. I feel sorry, like I said, for the situation. It's a sad situation.
Yeah, we were talking about In Cold Blood um a little while ago, and I was when I first read In Cold Blood, I felt I didn't feel sorry for them. I didn't want them to get like to, be set free, but I felt some complicated feelings about the Perry Smith and Dick Hickok, who committed a horrible crime, and I should not have felt sorry for them at all. But I kind of did, just because of the way the book was written.
I just found out that was a true story. I didn't know. I watched the movie
Really?
In Cold Blood. Yeah, I didn't know until I watched Capote. Interesting. I'll give a quick story about correctional incompetence before I leave. So in 2007, I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was 2007, there was a very bad murder here in Connecticut. A family was murdered. These two dudes, they had been in prison together, and they broke in the house. They set it on fire. They killed the family. And it came out, I guess, that either they claimed or it was thought that they were inspired by the book In Cold Blood. This led to a big review process having to take place in corrections. It led to the books taking longer to get in because they were so worried you were going to be reading this type of thing. Anyway, this went on for quite some time. And when they finally released the list of approved books, on the list of approved books was In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. So the book that started the whole thing was ultimately
That's
a lie.
really dumb. That's really dumb. But that's my book recommendation if anybody's interested. I highly recommend that you go read In Cold Blood. It is amazing.
Yes, and Subby, you should watch Judgment at Nuremberg. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you for the super chat, super stickers. We will see you tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Persephone will be back with all her questions. Please bring yours as well. And until then, remember, be ethical.